Hi everyone, Tyler Manion here, NPC and IFBB Pro League Vice President, and this will be your Mr. Olympia Classic Physique Division recap, brought to you by New Tech. So obviously we had a very close show between Mike and Ramon. I think Terrence was also very close to them in third place. Overall, I think an amazing top 5 for Classic. These guys all brought it, and I think are great representatives of what this division is. So we'll go pose by pose with Mike and Ramon, since as you guys see, it was a 1-point decision, and then we'll review everybody else in the top 5. So with Mike and Ramon, first up is the front double bicep pose. For me, Mike looks very good in this pose. Good arm development into a crazy taper, going down into a nice small waist. And obviously for Mike, his quads look very good from the front. I would say for me, this is Mike's strongest pose, especially comparing next to the other two guys. For Ramon, he was not at prejudging for sure. He was not raising his arms high enough up, so he wasn't really displaying the full taper, what he could be displaying. But as you see with Ramon has very solid arms, even with the crazy forearms as well. He still has a nice small waist, go down into the lower body, and his quads and leg width looked very good from the front as well. Ramon really had great detail throughout his physique and had those round, full muscle bellies. But when it comes to the front double bicep pose, this was definitely a clear pose for Mike to make it 1 pose to 0. Next up is the side chest pose. I think this was a relatively close pose between the two. When it comes from going across the width from shoulder to shoulder, I feel like they have pretty solid, pretty comparable width from shoulder to shoulder. I think Mike's chest is just a touch thicker than Ramon's. However, when it goes to outer arms and shoulders, I think especially the delts, you can see that roundness and fullness to Ramon's, while Mike's is just a little bit flatter. Go down into the lower body, and again, their legs are very comparable from the side. You can see that both of them have very good density and thickness and good balance between the quads and the hamstrings. But when you look at this as a whole and the balance between the upper and the lower body, and really just the way this pose flows together and flows well, and the roundness and the fullness, for me, this pose went to Ramon. I think I should also say that prejudging for me, I felt like upper body wise, Mike was just had what I would describe as a very slight film of water and blurriness in his upper body when it comes to conditioning wise. His lower body, obviously you see, was very well conditioned. Overall, he was very well conditioned, but it was the slight blurriness, I think, that also affected a lot of these poses between Mike and Ramon for me. So for me, the overall balance and the fullness and the roundness, I gave the side chest to Ramon to make it 1 poses to 1. Next up is the back double bicep pose. Again, I think this is a very close pose. For Mike, he has, again, a crazy taper, really good thickness and depth and 3D look to his back itself. Arms and shoulders flow in well and are very solid. Go down to the lower body, and he's, again, very conditioned. You can see a lot of detail and separation to the hamstrings, but Mike's weakest part of this pose is his leg width from the back. Now we go into Ramon. I think for Ramon, this is the best his back has definitely looked. Again, good arms and shoulders that flow in well to the back. You see depth and detail to his back. Back definitely is popping. Go down to the lower body, and Ramon's leg width and detail and development really shine through here. So for me, with the back itself, I think Mike's back is better than Ramon's. However, the lower body, I think Ramon's is better than Mike's. All things considered, again, I think this is probably a razor close pose. That's why so many judges are split. There's definitely arguments on why you could give it to Mike and why you could give it to Ramon. Personally, for me, I gave this pose to Ramon ever so slightly to make it 2 poses to 1. Next up will be the abdominals and thigh pose. Again, for me, I think this was a very close pose between the two of them. They both did the pose where they crunched down on their abs, then when they both pulled up a vacuum. For me, at prejudging, I think that Mike looked just a little bit better in this pose than Ramon. Again, they both display nice taper. Their chests are both staying full. Abdominal development and detail, they both have very good there. Go down to the lower body. Obviously, Mike's quads from the front are great. Very good. I just think his leg positioning, and again, the overall how balanced they make this pose look, how they make the pose flow. For me, again, by the slightest of margins, I give this pose to Mike to make it 2 poses to 2. And then finally is the favorite classic pose. For me, I think Ramon did a great job in just sticking with his 1 arm front lat spread, 1 arm front double. Basically, what you could call a teacup variation of this favorite classic pose. His leg placement in this pose, very good. How developed and how separated and conditioned in the leg width that he displayed here and everything throughout his quads looked very good. And again, he has that round, full, bubbly muscle. And I thought for this pose, you can see he's displaying the width on both sides, in the front lat spread side and when he's raising his arm up for the front double bicep side. He's raising up the proper height and where it should be, where it should have been, how he was hitting his front double. Now for Mike did two variations on favorite classic pose. His one variation is a front double variation where the one arm is raised, and then the other favorite classic pose he hit was the front lat spread. For Mike, I think the one arm up variation was the better one of these poses for him. When he hit the front lat spread, well, of course, it's a very, very impressive pose still. You can see that he just lost some of that volume to his chest, and the chest really looked flat in this pose, so it kind of took away from the impressiveness of this pose. Even when his arm was raised up, I still feel like on both of these poses, I gave the edge to Ramon. The conditioning and the fullness and the detail and the balance that he brought to this pose was very dominating. I think size-wise too, it just made him look a little bit bigger overall than Mike. And again, like I said, that tiny bit of blurriness throughout the upper body held Mike back, on some of these poses. So for me, I gave this pose to Ramon to make it 3 poses to 2. Obviously, an extremely close contest between these guys. Probably can compete against each other 10 times and each would probably win half. Really, it's as close as you could get for a contest. And I think one important thing to note was at finals, because when these scores are that close, we take a very, very close look at finals and we're really judging them again throughout the poses to make sure everything looks how it should. And Ramon came back in very, very dominant fashion at night. He was by far the best body on stage at night. I think it was definitely less close at night than it was at prejudging. And he kind of stamped his way to victory that way, shut the door, and there was no questions needed at the finals. Next up in third, we had Terrence. For me, I think this is probably Terrence's best look of his career. Again, his taper is amazing. His overall flow to his physique is very, very good. You can say for Terrence from the front, he can still use just a little bit more size to his arms. I would say that's what he would need for his front double pose. From the side and the side chest, I think Terrence has improved that pose a lot. I just think he doesn't have that same width across the top from shoulder to shoulder that Mike and Ramon had at this show. Conditioning, obviously, Terrence was basically in the same exact condition as them. All these guys were very, very conditioned and peaked very, very well. When it comes to the back double bicep, I think this is still the pose that can still come up more on Terrence. He can still use more of that depth and thickness to his back, and his arms in this pose could definitely use a little bit more size. I think arms and shoulders in this pose. So all from the back, I think he can improve. I think Terrence, lower body-wise, throughout the legs and the glutes, definitely improved, especially from earlier this year. I still think they could obviously come up just a touch more. But again, overall, the pose is very balanced and is still a very good pose. I'm just saying what I think can improve, especially next to the two guys that placed ahead of him. Abdominal and thigh, Terrence always has an amazing abdominal and thigh. Really nothing much needs to be changed there. And for Terrence, his favorite classic pose is also very, very good. Really for him, just a little bit more arm size to that pose. But he was right in there with them with those two guys, and that's why we did a 3-man call out. So nothing is guaranteed with these guys. Who knows what would happen if they competed a week or two later against each other. In fourth, we had Jose. I think Jose, again, brought an insanely conditioned package to this show. As you see, when he turns to the back for the back double bicep, his conditioning is just on another level, even from guys that are really, really conditioned. Still for Jose, Jose's waistline is definitely a little bit wider than obviously the 3 guys that placed ahead of him and even Niall that placed behind him. I think that makes it harder for him to compare against the guys in the front double bicep, in the ab and thigh, even favorite classic pose. Jose can obviously use a little bit more size to the arms. Specifically, I think he needs more tricep development. That will help balance out his arms. I still think he can use a little bit more thickness to his chest. You can see that in the side chest pose. His outer arms and shoulders don't have that same roundness and fullness too in the side chest pose that the guys ahead of him had. Back double bicep, crazy pose for him. Abdominal thigh, again, you see the waistline a little bit. You can also see he needs more of that sweep to the legs. And those would basically be my main critiques for Jose. Again, an immensely impressive showing. 4th place in this lineup in crazy conditions, so I thought he did a great job. In 5th, we had Niall. Niall also brought a very, very good physique to the stage. It's possible he might have the best natural structure out of any of these guys in the top 5. His waist is so small. Really for Niall, you can see he needs, in the side chest pose, he needs a little bit more of that roundness and thickness and fullness to the arms and to the shoulders. He could still use it in the side chest pose, just a touch more to the chest as well. Then you see in the back double bicep, he's definitely improved this, especially from last year. Lower body-wise, he looked great, but still, So he needs more of that thickness and width and that 3D look to his back. You could really see that in the back double, especially standing next to Jose when it was one-on-one, who has the best back double bicep in Classic. So if he can improve and fill in that back while still bringing up the chest and the arms and the shoulders just a touch more, this guy could be the danger to every single guy in front of him because he has a very, very pleasing and balanced physique. And again, he brought very good conditioning as well. So amazing Classic top 5.